All right, welcome everyone. We finally got in. I believe this is because we are fighting like a Flynn today to get the word out. I'm so excited. Welcome to Be Alert News Show and here at Brighteon TV. Thank God for all the Brighteon team and Mike Adams, Health Ranger, and all of the wonderful people that watch this amazing channel that is, I call it a rising star. And we're so glad. We're going to jump right in because I got, I think, one of the most influential persons right now on the planet and in America. God's hand is on him. And that's not by accident. And I'm not saying that presumptuously. I know because I've spent some time with this gentleman. And he is a brother in Christ, but he is also a patriot. He loves America and he loves people. General Michael Flynn, how are you, sir? How's it going today?
It's going great, Leon, and thanks for having me on. Thanks for dragging me into this. For all the audience out there, I am a fanatic about exercise. So whenever I can get some in, so I'm just coming back from a little jog that I did, because as I move around and do things, there's always time, and that's sort of my safe space is when I am focused, on, because it's kind of a renewing, a refreshing of my physical body, but also in a time for me to reflect on my spiritual and mental and emotional attitude. So I'm sitting here in I'll promote one other thing. I'm in his glory t-shirt, but I really appreciate it. And I will tell you, if there were ever a moment to be alive in history, I thought I've been alive in some places that I never dreamed I'd be in, as a young person, and then going into the military, my military service across the world, really, and then in some of the jobs and some of the experiences I've had. But I never thought I would experience something like we're experiencing now in the history of the world. And we say that we use the word history as looking back, but actually we're living in it and we're creating it, and it is one of the most special times to be alive, because if you do not feel alive, then you're one of those few, certainly patriots, that are still contemplating what your role is and what your role must be going forward, because everybody has a new role now, Bishop, and that, and I think you've seen that in your own life and in the lives of all of us who have been connected through the grace of God over the last 9 months or so, and maybe even longer. We just didn't know we didn't know that we were going to be connected. We just knew that our destiny is decided before we even are born in many cases. So I give you my opening monologue there as we go in today's show.
Well, I tell you, your biography is just amazing. I was just looking over it, where you've come from, born in an amazing state, Rhode Island. A lot of history right there. Yeah. We could probably spend the whole show right there. But serving in the military, 33 plus years. That's a symbolic number. Jesus Christ is 33 years old forever.
Wow.
He rose from the dead and serving as high priest and king. We're in the middle of Rosh Hashanah, going into Yom Kippur, 10 days of awe. There's a lot of symbolic meaning right now of this week. That's why I wanted to have you on this show today, because America is in the crossfires of a lot of things happening biblically, but also historically. You served, of course, my God, in the military, in an intelligence area. You served in many wars. Boy, that's a whole topic right there.
Yeah.
You served with the Trump
administration. We'll continue to talk about those. Sometimes when you read somebody's bio, it's like reading their obituary, and I'm alive. I'm about as alive as I've ever been.
That's right.
So let's talk about this week, particularly this week, and the meaning. And you can articulate really the biblical meaning far more, vastly more than most, and definitely more than me. But one of the things that I want to remind people of at the end of this week, and it's really the 17th, is the 17th, which is Friday, is Constitution Day. And I think that that's also Yom Kippur, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, the Day of Atonement is the 15th and 16th. 17th is Constitution Day. Yes.
Yeah. And so the 17th, what I would like to do is I'm going to do this in probably in the middle of the country, from the middle of the country. I'll be out in Omaha on Friday morning with a big group of people, and what I want is I sort of want to declare today on your show that I actually think that the 17th, as much as we will, those that even know about it, will celebrate the Constitution of the United States of America, because it is Constitution Day, declared by our government as Constitution Day. We should have a day of prayer. We should have a day, certainly a moment of silence for all of those who have sacrificed over, centuries now, but certainly decades, for us to be able to have this conversation that we're having right now. But, so as we go through this very holy period of time, biblical time, and we end it at the end of this week. So I really appreciate you starting off this week for me with this conversation, that I think that we ought to have the 17th as really a day of prayer. So a lot of people out there probably watch you will pray anyway, but I actually think I'm gonna start to promote on all my social media and everything starting right today, that I want people to pray for our Constitution, to pray for the leaders that we need, to pray for the champions that are emerging, to pray for the warriors that we must encourage, in the various communities that we have, fighting different battles, whether it's for our education, whether it's for doctors and nurse practitioners and others fighting for our health care needs and this health tyranny that we're facing, or whether it's people that like Saturday I was with two people that I know who are naturalized citizens, first generation immigrants. They went through the whole process to get citizenship, and it took them anywhere between 5 to 8 years between the two of them. And they absolutely adore and love our country. And they came from communism. They came from communist nations, and they come up to me, and I gave them big hugs, and they said, please don't let us go back to communism. And I said, we're not going back to communism, so we're not. We're gonna fight through this. And that's why I say this is a time to be alive. I want your listeners, your audience, to feel alive. I want this country, I want people to understand, and I want the world to understand that so as I look at you, Benjamin, as I look at you, Leon, as I look at you, Bishop, I'm looking at a champion, and you won't say that, you won't reflect that. You just act in a way that is much different than you ever thought you would be, running your congregation and running for, good for you for stepping up as a pastor and running for a federal office in Congress and maybe doing it again here, right? And but you have enlightened and inflamed in a very positive way the idea of how religion can be connected to our Constitution. And so I want us to focus on that. I want this country to understand, as I've said over the last couple of days specifically, our nation was founded because of religious persecution. And they were persecuting people in the 1500s, 1600s for certain, and even before that. And people said, we've had enough. We need to go discover a new world. And you mentioned that I'm from Rhode Island, Portsmouth, Rhode Island, which is this very small town in the state of the smallest state in the union geographically, and a little town called Portsmouth. I actually call it the seat of religious liberty in this country. I grew up in a town, and I used to go to the boys' club in the town next door. When I was a little kid, my mother would drop us off, or we'd go from school, and that would be kind of our latchkey, right? We'd go play at the boys' club and do all kinds of things. But at that boys' club, from the route that I used to take to cut through backyards and parks and stuff to get there, I would pass a Catholic church, I would pass a Presbyterian church, and I would pass a synagogue. And I mean in a route that was not more than a quarter of a mile. And the synagogue happens to be the oldest synagogue in the country. The Presbyterian church, happens to be one of the oldest in the country. And then the Catholic church is one of the oldest Catholic churches in the country. And they're all within a quarter of a mile of each other. When you start to think about our ability to be united and be together and understand what it is and who it is that we are, we all have one doctrine. We are all led by one doctrine, and that doctrine is the Bible. It is our traditions that make us different, that make us want to, we have a tradition in the Catholic Church. We have a tradition in the Episcopalian community, or the Presbyterian community, or the Lutheran community, or the Protestant community. We have a different set of traditions in the Jewish community. So, but we all have that same center point, and that center point is exactly who you talked about at the beginning, which is that person in Jesus Christ, who lived to the age of 33 years old, right? So that to me is part and parcel of the fight and the struggle that we are in. And so for your audience and any audience that listens to this message, you have to understand, we don't all wear our faith on our sleeve. I never did, really. I've always one that's like very intimate. It's a very intimate thing, my religion, to me, and how I believe and what I believe and when I pray. And, but I do firmly believe, with every fiber of my body, that I am now a product of prayer more than anything else in my life. And I say that because when I served the country, and I would have, I don't say this in any other way other than just stating a fact that I was always willing to give my life for this country if that was what the plan was. But then I was persecuted by this country. And I was persecuted by, and I shouldn't say this country, that's really the wrong thing. I was persecuted by evil.
Evil.
And I was persecuted by evil. And,
yes.
And it was this country, really, it was this country and the millions and millions and millions of people that then they fought for me through the weapon system of prayer. And I liken to say that prayer is the most powerful weapon system known to man. And when we decide, when we Christians in this sort of Judeo-Christian set of faiths that we have, when we determine what the target is going to be, and we determine the direction that we are going to fire those prayers, right? Fire that weapon system. And then when it hits the target, it has meaning, and it is absolutely helpful. It's biblical. It's spiritual, and I have felt it. So, and like I said, I'm here talking to you today because of it. And that's the only reason that I can believe that I'm here today talking to you.
I love it, because what I've seen happen, and we've been starting to hang out a little bit, traveling around the nation with the Reawakening tours with Clay Clark and many other patriots, Mike Lindell, Patrick Burns, and many others, great people. But we're seeing that if we don't come together as a people, regardless of color, regardless of nationality and creed, that this place we call the United States of America, with the Constitution as our bedrock, the Bible as our foundation, will no longer exist. And what I love about you is the fact that for some people, you're just grandpa, you're just dad. And we sometimes have all these titles, all these nomenclatures, all these things inscripted over our life. But when it boils down to it, Mike Flynn, this is the guy that God says, I want him to serve in whatever capacity, and his relationship with me, I will expose it as the time unfolds. And where you are right now, I want to know, look at the people right now, as this segment goes to an end. Where is Mike Flynn, who is a general, a dad, a grandpa, a community activist, a believer in Christ? Where is his head right now? Because God's hand is on all of us. God's hand is on all of us. But where do you see yourself right now? Where and what's about to happen? Because there's a prophecy. Every time I see you, I prophesy over your life. There's a prophecy that the devil is afraid of to come out of Mike Flynn. With all of the titles you have on your life, there's a prophecy. Where do you see right now? Because that's important, I think, for our listeners. Because where you see, I think, is where a lot of people are starting to see. But you have this special anointing right now on your life to lead in this capacity. Where do you see it right now?
Well, I so I appreciate you saying that like that. If I will be, if it is, if it's the right thing, I will put myself on the very point of that spear and be that, be that sharp instrument to basically look to my left, look to my right, and tell people, if you have never followed anybody, follow me, because I'm going to move in the direction of America. That's the direction I'm going to move in, and I am going to move at a pace that can only be sustained if I'm allowed the energy, if I'm allowed the spirit, if I'm allowed the intellect, if I'm allowed the emotion, if I'm allowed the physical being that I'm given. Thank God that I have the fiber that I have, and so that's where I'm at right now. I feel like I am, and I don't mind one bit, because persecution is a sacrifice, and if you're not willing to sacrifice for something, then for those that have never had any problems in their life, and I don't think that that's true of anybody. I think everybody that's had problems in their lives, know that I've had problems in my life, and I am not going to allow those problems to stop what I believe to be true, which this nation was built on a set of Judeo-Christian principles and values, and I'm going to be fearless. So if I'm at the pointy end of the spear right now, leading that way in the darkness to try to move to the light, I'm going to find the light.
Well, I like the fact that you're willing to take on your calling. I alluded to the fact when we were in Anaheim that you moved as an apostle. Now, some people don't like that because the church of today does not recognize something has happened to the church of today to become lukewarm, sort of polluted or even diluted with the Christian doctrine or the doctrine of Christ. Mm-hmm. And so when I say apostle Michael Flynn, people go, what? Where you get that from? But it's talking about those who the word apostolic means primus or first, who goes in first, like Jesus came to be the firstborn among many brethren. Then there's the second, third, fourth. And those that are willing to blaze a trail that is not there. And I think that what's happening, and we will probably talk about it in the second segment, that the Constitution, our founding fathers in 1774, 75, were coming together going, what in the heck is going on?
Exactly.
We see this tyranny and we know some things are not right. We want to continue to practice our faith while we practice our rights. How can we put this together? Maybe it's another 1776 moment, okay, where these new apostles of the faith, apostles of the of our Constitution being rebirth, I like to say rebirth or reborn again, what that might look like right now. And so I think it's scaring a lot of people to say, could 1776 be happening all over again, but with new faces? What do you think about that?
So I know we have a hard break here pretty soon. So I'll make this as quick as I can. Our founders of this nation, they found our country, right? They discovered it. What we as Americans need to do right now with a new set of warriors, champions, patriots, is we need to rediscover what was found by them and what made them do what they did, why they gave up so much, why they sacrificed so much. So we need to rediscover why they found this beautiful thing called the United States of America, why they fought so hard to create this thing called the United States Constitution. So that's what we need to do. We are in a rediscovery phase of the American dream, and I know we are going to rediscover America in as great or greater way than it has ever been before. And that's why I say it is a phenomenal time to be alive. I feel so much more alive today than I have ever felt. And I can tell you, just if I want to, I'm working as hard as I've ever worked, even though all the years I spent in combat or all the years I spent in the military, all the leadership positions I've been in. But I don't want to say that as an excuse. I love what I do. I'm absolutely loving being part of this moment. And because I feel like this was something that this has always been me. I mean, for anybody that knows me, is to help. I've been somebody, I like to think I like to help people. So we're going to help each other. We're going to, through guys like you and me, through this kind of medium, we're going to give the voice to the voiceless. We're going to move around this country, and we're going to show people with our physical presence as well as our emotional and virtual presence that leaders do exist, because not everybody is made to do this kind of stuff. I understand that. I definitely understand that as a general officer in the United States military and as someone who led a lot of organizations. I know that, and that's okay. But once you give the people the right direction and the right intentions and the right ideas, they will walk through hell with you. And
we're going to have to stop, do a hard stop, come back. But I want to now connect January 6th to the Constitution and to Constitution Day coming up on Friday. Beautiful. I want all those three to come together. We'll be right back after a very short break. God bless.
Did you know that the health of your liver is directly connected to your disease risk? Your liver is under attack like never before. Make no mistake about it, a fatty liver is a precursor to so many health problems and premature death. Simply enter your name and email address now and don't miss a single episode of the Fatty Liver Docu-Class.
He's a journalist with the most read column on Uncover DC. And now we're proud to announce that Daniel Bobinski is bringing the voice of conservative values to Brighteon TV.
Hi, I'm Ann Vandersteel, host of The Steel Truth. Excited to be part of the Brighteon.tv family, featured at the 8 o'clock primetime hour. That's right, weeknights at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can find this show with incredible guests and also get everyday American citizens bringing you their calls to action. Join us weeknights, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Brighteon.tv. See you then.
Stu Peters with the Stu Peters Show, the platform of unafraid and truthful reporting of facts. And I couldn't be more excited to be featured on the Brighteon TV network at such a time when those things are so needed and have become completely absent from the mainstream major broadcast and cable news networks. I'll see you right here daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on Brighteon TV.
Did you know that the health of your liver is directly connected to your disease risk? Your liver is under attack like never before. Over 80,000 environmental toxins contaminate the air, water, and food supply. Make no mistake about it, a fatty liver is a precursor to so many health problems and premature death. Simply enter your name and email address now, and don't miss a single episode of the Fatty Liver Docu-Class.
All right, we're back. We've been having a wonderful conversation. I mean, a truly wonderful conversation with my dear friend, General Michael Flynn. And I love the times that we share together outside the camera stuff and everything. And like I said, when me and my wife are with you and we're with, family and stuff, it's really precious because our nation was founded upon families that develop relationships that count. Mm-hmm. And I'd allude to the fact that we were together January 6th, and you know what happened January 6th. We were there together. I was with you and some of the other teammates and family and that were with you. And what happened to get our nation to turn in such a way with the Constitution now is right front center. But it looks like we ignored everything that we had as far as rights. We know what happened on the election day, working November 3rd. I ran for Congress. I couldn't have believed what happened. And we were all hoping that from November 4th to January 6th, there would be an outcome where everybody understood would be relevant, but yet something else happened. And now we're leading to a place where we have this,
we don't know
kind of thing going on.
It's very uncertain.
Very uncertain. And how can we connect Constitution Day? Because I think our Constitution is right front center right now. And I'm so glad that we're talking about this along with our faith. What happened January 6th in your mind?
So let's take it sort of one bite at a time here, in as short a summary as I can do. But the presidential election, 3 November 2020 occurs. Unprecedented things happened that day. 6 states shut down at 10 o'clock at night. We've had massive proof of from video evidence of people taking ballots and rerunning them from the, in the wee hours of the morning on the 4th of November. I mean, just extraordinary levels of fraud and deceit. And then a segment of our society, our segment of America, really the tech titans, the media elements within our media, certainly the judiciary. I call the judiciary, I'm generalizing because it's not all the courts, but it's some of the courts, certainly in places. It's like there was a very concerted effort to do exactly what was done on the 3rd of November, which was to basically ensure the outcome, and in fact, guarantee the outcome, which is not supposed to be the case for any election. You go in and you might have polls and this person might be running better than that person, but you don't know how people are supposed to vote until the outcome, until it's all said and done, until it's all completed freely, fairly, transparently, and legally. And then, you count the votes, and the better candidate won because of better ideas and better policies and a better ground game, right? Well, so we all know, this country knows what the true outcome was, and I won't belabor anymore on the 3rd of November. So then you fast forward from that day. Let's start on the 4th all the way till the 6th of January, 4 November 2020 to 6 January 2021.
Yes.
And what we had was we had a battle. We had we were at war. Our nation was at war, and it was being fought in what's termed lawfare, right? It's warfare using the law that we have to fight back and forth. So every time somebody, like on the good guy side, right, when somebody said and came forward with a filing to file something to show that there was fraud committed at this court or in this precinct or in this county or in this state, the other side came in with legions of lawyers from places that, that you kind of wonder, where did they get these resources? It makes you flinch, and go, holy mackerel, they were so well prepared with their sort of the Roman legions, right? I mean, the legions showed up to pretty much 6 counties. And then I know that they sent a whole bunch of lawyers over to Nevada, because Nevada was also threatened to be overturned back to Trump. And so they had to send another, I think it was 40 or 50 lawyers. I mean, we're not talking about, one person shows up and starts arguing.
Right.
We're talking about, and I call them legions. These were legions of the left's lawyers. And then you have certain elements in the political spectrum, and I'll use the word Democrats only once today, Leon. And then you have the Republican establishment, rhinos, they call them rhinos, Republicans in name only, and so you had this cohort that really looked at, for those that looked at Trump and said, well, yeah, we can get rid of this guy, let's get rid of him. On the Republican side, that they were like, this was their effort to kind of retake power in their own little cabal way. Now I'm talking about Republicans, the Republican establishment. So it's like they did not jump up and down and scream loudly and fight and help from the political side, because they just felt like this guy named Donald J. Trump, he took their power base, he took their wealth, he deeply understood their corruption, and he was taking it away from them. The longer he stood in front of them, right? He stood up for us. So then you have that, so all that's happening in between 4 and 6 January, and the Democrats and the tech titans and the media, they're calling us all names. You're a conspiracy theory, theorist. You're crazy. You're this QAnon. All these kinds of disinformation, not misinformation. Disinformation is intentionally misleading somebody by putting, misleading and deceitful things inside of the media market out there, and basically lying to the American people. So you cause the American people to sit back and go, God, what is happening? The courts aren't doing anything. Well, before I jump to 6 January, the courts for everybody, the United States judiciary, the third one of our branches of government, will never, and I don't use the words like never. They will never decide the outcome of an election. The courts decide on constitutional issues. And if something is unconstitutional, then they rule on that. And then they push it back to wherever it came from. Maybe it came from Pennsylvania. Maybe it came from, for anybody that remembers the year 2000 in the Broward County, it was an unconstitutional issue. It was thrown back to the state through the Secretary of State's office and through the county of Broward County, or Palm Beach County, I believe it was. They made the decision and they overturned the election. They gave it to Bush. So everybody thought that the courts were going to do something. And the courts never really, to include the Supreme Court, they never looked at any of the evidence, because the legions of lawyers that were put in place by the left, they were masterful. Okay, so I give them big kudos. I give them credit for their master.
Was this what Sidney Powell was dealing with?
Yes.
Because we talk about the release of the Kraken. We know she had the evidence.
Still does. And there's still plenty of evidence. And we're going to even see more evidence and coming out of Maricopa County. Already has. I mean, there's already a ton of evidence that's come out, and it's clear. I mean, they've already had one hearing. They're going to have some others. There's this canvassing report that just came out the other day. So and we know stuff that's going on in Georgia. The challenge is what the left has done is they fought this really masterfully using the court system to their advantage. So they actually used our laws to their advantage. And this is why sort of we the people, we have to stand up, as a body, right? As a human body and bodies, plural, to stand up against this tyranny. So now let's talk about the 6th. So we're back and we're battling. This was a battle and we're still battling, folks. So the battle's not over.
Yes.
So we get to the 6th of January, and now we know that there was instigating of the 6th prior to the 6th by elements within the FBI and by elements within the left, agitators that were brought in to basically instigate things that happened. Now, I'm not going to, if somebody's still being held in the district court jailhouse in Washington, D.C., because they broke some windows and they trespassed or they hit a cop or something, I don't have any sympathy for them. I don't.
Right.
But if somebody was standing on the Capitol steps and walked in the door because they were basically allowed in by some police officers, so they've been accused of trespassing, and that's what they've been accused of, but they're sitting in jail. That's unconstitutional, and that's just flat wrong. So I'll put that aside. The 6th of January, I believe that the Vice President of the United States of America, Mike Pence, had really he also has a constitutional oath and a constitutional duty. So when they came in and they went through all the, they stopped and then they came back and then they voted again, and there was many rhinos who changed their vote in the matter of a couple of hours from not voting to certify and then voting to certify. That's just flat wrong. What changed? Because even with the confusion and the fog that was created by this what they describe as an assault on democracy, it didn't change what happened on the 3rd of November. So those rhinos that then changed their votes in a matter of a couple hours, if they did it because Mitch McConnell pulled them all together and said, now's our chance to get rid of Trump. Okay, so let's do it. Because I believe that's what they did. That's in my gut. Okay, that's my sense of who these people are, and some of them I know. So if they did that and they voted to then, okay, now's our chance to dump Trump, then what they did was they may have put a stake, in the body of the United States of America forever. What I know though, is they missed the heart. Okay, they missed the heart.
Yes.
And so then Mike Pence, the vice president, what he could have done is he could have said, I am going to pause the vote. We're going to pause the vote. We have too many things in question. We have too much. By that time, I think we had thousands of Americans who had gone in front of judiciary committees at states level and testified under oath that they witnessed crimes. They witnessed corruption. They witnessed things that were so egregious to our sense of America, of being Americans and the rule of law and our election system, that the vice president of the United States has a constitutional duty, because he's the vice president. He and the president are at the top of the executive branch of government, but they are unequal because we only have one of those two offices, right? So what he could have done was said, let's pause. Let's pause. Let's take 10 days and let's take a real hard look at the following things and direct, as the vice president, direct on behalf of the Constitution, because just like the Supreme Court has a constitutional duty, those of us that have taken the oath of office, but particularly the president and the vice president, because the vice president was playing a very, very unique role in the history of this country on the 6th of January. Okay, so there could have been a pause taken at that moment in time,
right?
And then if we did the counts and everything was done above board, fairly, transparently, live streamed from all those places, right? Like they've been live streaming Maricopa, then you turn and the outcome was that Joe Biden got 80 million and Donald Trump got 70 million or whatever. Then people would have, and Trump would have said, okay, I'm good. Guess it was a fair, I didn't feel like it was, but guess it was. And and I'll walk away, and we can have a peaceful transition of power instead of what happened on the 20th.
If it was fair.
If it was fair. It definitely wasn't fair. Definitely not fair. So then, then we would have had sort of a more similar, a more normal transition of power on the 20th of January, right? And instead of barricading the Capitol and having like a small group and to pretend as though we're, because they essentially took over the country. So now they've taken over the country. So now we have a group in the White House that took over the country, and it just blows the mind of every American that this actually happened. And that's the thing for Americans to that where they have a real difficulty trying to understand what it is that's happened. Okay. Now I've been in countries I've been part of planning for the takeover of small countries around the world, been part and parcel to takeovers and coups, if you will, to impose democracy. I mean, as a military guy, you do things based on what your civilian masters tell you. That's our system of government. It's our system of defense. So I understand the kinds of things that you go after and the kinds of things that you take control of and how you take control of a nation. So this process to get to where we are today, because I want to leap to where we are today, and then let's move forward in the conversation. Where are we going? And I think that's more important. So where we are today to get here, it wasn't Trump. It wasn't just about Trump. Trump is this what I call a strategic speed bump in the history of the United States of America, because he is a different. It's like a speed bump in a road. It causes you to slow your car down. If you slow down, if you hit that speed bump too hard, you're going to break an axle. Well, Trump. I mean, there was the left hit that speed bump when they tried to hit Trump, and Trump didn't give up, and they broke an axle. But they learned, and they repaired. They repaired their automobile, and they made a determination that we're not going to allow power to be taken from us. So this has been going on for 30, 40 years. Okay. It just so happened that God in a way anointed this country, and he finds different people, prophets, apostles, whatever you want to call them. He finds different people, and he says, now's your time, whether you like it or not. So Trump made that decision, and thank God he did, because at least we have a shot. So between the 6th of January, 20 January, and sitting here today with you, my friend, we now we are still battling. We're still in this battle, but our voices are now being heard, and we are now starting to see the weaknesses in the system, right? Yes. In their system. That's why they keep coming at us with more COVID variants, right? We're on I think we're at the letter G now or something like that, right? And we're on
M.
We're on the
letter M. It's called.
We're at the whatever it is, M.
Whatever,
I mean, and I got the third. We got the third booster, and we got, we've got the lockdowns. Yet what's crazy to me, what's amazing to me is that many people may not know this, but so all government, they're going to lock us all down. They're going to mandate all this stuff. But the government institution that touches us the most, that handles everything that we touch on a daily basis, the United States Postal Service, those great patriots that, some of them, because I know my postman, they come knocking on your door, they put stuff in your mailbox, they handle your boxes, you talk to them at the post office. The United States Postal Service is exempt from taking the vaccine, because I personally believe that somewhere in the chain of command of the Postal Service, there are people who mishandled mail-in ballots, right? And I think that there's some management that inside the postal system that probably knows something more. So why would you give the Postal Service Employees Union, that kind of an exemption, and yet, and of course Congress and their staff, they're exempt. So this notion of the pandemic and the shot and the COVID is totally unconstitutional. It's not that COVID doesn't exist; it does. And there's going to be people. I lost a great friend, actually this morning, right after midnight, to COVID. And there's different issues going on with that one. But so COVID's real, but our response and the direction that we're being told to go is false. But this is a weakness for them because they have to keep pouring this on because they want us to forget about election fraud.
Right.
There was a sense, and I know this, so there was a sense that by about March or so, the election fraud would be passed, the American people would forget about it, and we could move on. But the American people are not.
This is the constitutional crisis, I believe.
It's like in 1630. You may have heard me talk about this before, but a sermon given in 1630 by a pastor by the name of Winthrop. He became the first mayor of Boston. 1630. I think it was 6 ships getting ready to take off to go discover the New World, and he gave a sermon, and it's a sermon where he talks about city on the hill. We're going to go discover a city on the hill. But as he's standing on the docks and he's looking at the congregation of people that are going to go board the various ships to cross the very dangerous Atlantic to leave their country because of religious persecution to discover a new world, he tells them all, because he knows everybody in the congregation just like you know everybody. He points at one and he says, "You are a person of least means. You are a person of great means. But together on this journey to go discover the city on the hill, we are unified as one. We are all the same." And so the people of this country are all the same in this fight. And that's why I think we are where we are today, as I sit here with you, having this discovery, right?
Right.
And
look, as we're winding down, General Flynn, our Constitution right now, if I say we've been given God inalienable rights, amongst them life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, but yet we have the administration saying it's an emergency. Hold off on the rights until we can make you safe. What would you say about that as we get ready to wind down?
They deserve and I'll screw this passage up, but they just deserve, neither liberty nor freedom. This is not about anything but my freedom, my liberty, my constitutional rights. That's what America is about. That's what was created. We are a nation with the word creator in our very Constitution, multiple times. So we're going to have to stand up for it.
We've come down to it. We've come down to a close, and I want to thank you. One of the things we're working with TAP, the American Project. Yep. We want everyone to go to theamericanproject.com and just get involved, join up, get with us. I love you so much. God bless.